Hey guys, I'm going to be taking a break this week from providing you with new content, only because it's the 4th of July. So for those of you who are here in the States, this is tomorrow is the 4th of July, and I want you, we're about enjoying life with my family, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to be taking a break this week, but I'm not going to leave you hanging because I'm going to replay an episode that I did, about 2 or maybe 3 months ago now, where it received a ton of downloads, ton of interest, and the topic of conversation was on paid ads. And I interviewed a gentleman who is an absolute expert when it comes to paid ads. A lot of people raved about this episode, so I decided to replay it again for those of you who might have missed it because you probably weren't part of my inner circle at that point. So without further ado, I'm going to bring you back to that content. Ian, but before I let you go, I also want to let you know that next week I will be back with original content for you. So with that, I'll take you right into the content. Take care and bye for now.
Hello and welcome to Marketing Solutions for Local Law Firms, the podcast that provides you with all the latest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you are looking to substantially increase your caseload in the next 6 months, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's the host of our show, the local business guy himself, Frank Deming.
Hello, everyone. This is Frank Deming, the local business guy. Welcome to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Law Firms. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day, everyone. I hope you guys are having a rockin' week thus far. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, and that's paid ads. I know SEO is fun, and we've had a couple of episodes on SEO, but paid ads is where it's at. You know why? Because that's when you really start getting the ball rolling when it comes to lead generation. And you know what's better news that I have for you? I'm not going to be talking about paid ads myself. I have another expert, super duper guy. I can't wait to introduce you to him. His name is the great Avi Kumar. How's it going, Avi?
Going great, Frank. Frank, very well put. If you're doing SEO, you are kind of still pursuing a hobby. You got to get to paid ads for real business. You got to get there.
Amen to that, man. So Avi, I have a lot of stuff prepared for this interview. I'm really excited about it because another person that's a man on the after my own heart here. But before we get to any of that stuff, who are you and what do you do?
All right. So I like to think I'm a digital marketer. I've been doing this for 16 years. My background is engineering and hardcore engineering and doing microprocessor design and all. And so kind of new to the marketing world, but 16 years I think is long enough. And my way of looking at marketing is that don't follow any advice blindly. Be a little bit irreverent and actually experiment and test. So kind of a little bit of a scientific approach. Like just don't, if you get an idea from somebody, go and test it. Because there are a lot of ideas, a lot of things, and pragmatically, things change very quickly. What works yesterday will not work today, so you got to test it. So I'm a marketer who likes to test everything backwards and forwards, and that's where the Google Ads is the area where testing is easier. You can actually measure the numbers, you can see things. So really love that.
Yeah. I'm glad that you've been in the marketing game for 16 years. I've been in about the same time. I started my business in 07. So about the same time. Out of curiosity, what do you think of all the changes? Let's talk about Google for now. We'll get into Facebook later or Meta, however they call it these days. But anyway, out of curiosity, what do you feel about all the changes that the Google platform has done throughout this time, throughout these 16 years?
So I think the biggest change and direction where Google is going towards is giving less control to the users. And their intentions are not bad because they realize there is so much complexity in making things So they're trying to use, deep learning, AI to automate as much as possible and taking the control away. Now, that really works well if you're a very large corporation, because you are doing so much, you're spending so much money, you want it all automated, you cannot go through detail. But smaller businesses, unfortunately, are not being served well by these hiding everything, right? As a small business, I mean, every lead counts. You're not talking about that, hey, clients we get a call. We usually commit like, okay, you're going to get 10 to 15 leads. If they don't get 5 leads by a certain time, they'll call the agency. Say, I haven't got my 5 from, phones are not ringing.
Yeah.
Big business doesn't look at that way. And Google's systems are set up for very large businesses. So they're optimized for large businesses. So smaller businesses are unfortunately getting, short end of the stick, if you will, because they're hiding so much. They're keeping it all in the automated platform. I think that's the biggest change which has been happening in the Google Ads world, and Facebook too, to some extent, but much more in Google Ads area. And so that makes it kind of a thing that you got to do everything you can to find out as much as you can, indirectly or directly, so you can optimize your ads. And for smaller businesses, it's become like keeps getting harder when they hide everything. I mean, they introduced Performance Max. It's, that's going to take care of everything. Initially, they subsidized it. It was really cheap. But after running it for a while, you realize, it doesn't work that well. Initially, because it was subsidized, you're getting so many junk leads also, it was okay. So, but now, it doesn't work for smaller businesses. So they keep going in that direction. Again, their intentions are, they're optimizing their business, right?
Yeah.
And making it simpler, but it's getting harder for smaller businesses.
It's so funny. You touched into that. I had a conversation with a client of mine, well, potential client, that he was running it himself because everything is kind of easy to do. But the thing he didn't realize, and I told him this, I said that when Google designed that for their benefit, not for yours.
Yep. Absolutely.
So if you don't know how to manipulate it so that you can get the best leads possible, then you're going to lose money. So
the Google recommendations. I mean, you get 5 recommendations, and out of those, 3 are benefiting them. Only 2 will benefit. So you got to really know, this recommendation is like, increase the budget, go broad. All those are great for Google, but not necessarily for the business.
Yeah, it's definitely not win-win. Awesome. I'm glad you said that, because that's something that I preach a lot. So you mentioned Meta briefly. From a PPC perspective, and let's go with industry. We're talking mostly about lawyers in the show, but let's just go broad and go outside of the lawyers for a little bit too. In your expertise, would you select one platform for PPC over another, or it doesn't really matter?
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hello there, listeners. If you're an attorney and you would love to be a guest on the show so you can promote your services to people that listen to the show and beyond, give us a call at 888-416-7752 or send us an email at podcast@lbmsllc.com. One of my associates in the podcasting team will send you an email and connect with you, schedule some time, send you the podcast intake form, and schedule you to be interviewed on the show. So if that's something that you really would want to do, go ahead and take one of those actions, and we'll take it from there. So until then, enjoy the rest of the show.
So does depend on industry, but let me do the legal one, and then I'll get to the home services one, because they have differences. So Perfect. In legal, what we have found is that you got to do both. And especially when we are dealing with lawyers who are collecting clients for, big lawsuits for not necessarily the class action, but the same kind of a, tort, the tort law who practice that, they have to be on both Facebook and Google. Because if there is a medical malpractice, a famous doctor, and you want to go after them, you have to be on both. The big difference we noticed is In Google, you can kind of control the spam a little bit. On Facebook, there are much lesser controls on spam. But unfortunate thing is that, hey, you got to do it still, because they do provide, the leads coming in are still good. But if the spam starts coming, there's really not much you can do on Facebook lead form side. Google side, you can do a little bit more. You can detect IPs and other things and keep blocking them as you learn more and use tools. So both work, and they work in conjunction. Usually in legal, we found that the split, the money we spend is like 30% or 30 to 40% on Meta and 60% on, and these are, I'm talking about the large cases where the margins are high, returns are very high for lawyers, and 60% on Google. When it comes to more home service, other businesses, the challenge there is, if you want really high volume, you have to go Google, because these are urgency businesses, right? You got a plumbing problem, you got AC problem. Google search is the way to go for sure. But for smaller volume, Meta actually is cheaper. Yeah. So if we have clients who are spending $50,000 a month, say, on ads, a plumber making $5 million or more. So when they spend that kind of money, we will up to 5 to 10,000, we can get pretty cheap leads on Meta. But beyond that, it saturates. There's no more leads available. After that, all the money has to go towards Google, even though it is more expensive. So that's what we have found, that if you want high volume, at the lower volumes, Meta will work okay. And if you think about it, makes sense, right? Why would somebody on Meta who has you'll think these are urgency needs, but there's always a drip, which is not that urgent. But when you see a ad on Meta, you're reminded, oh, I forgot to get that fixed. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And you're not doing search actively. So there are those ones you catch who are like, they still need that service, but they kind of don't feel urgency. So you catch those, but there are only so many of those. The urgency ones are searching on Google. Yeah. So that's where the volume is. So that's what we found. The mix is basically in service businesses, you can get some level on Google, some level on Meta, but the majority will come from Google. Google PPC. And for almost all clients, we kind of do the both mix. And then now we have added TikTok also, which is kind of an extension of Meta in some sense, right? And it works for some businesses well, others it doesn't, but we definitely added that to the mix now.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about TikTok. That was my next question. So you kind of stole that. So yeah, let's get into TikTok for a little bit. I mean, as of recording this, they've been talking about trying to ban it, but irrespective of that, how effective are the TikTok ads? I got to be really transparent with you here. I have not seen a great deal of success using it in terms of conversions. You get a lot of exposure and all that stuff, but I haven't seen anything. What's been your experience?
So yes, we have seen some conversions, and some conversions have come. Attribution was kind of late, or a month later, but they told us, we saw you on TikTok, right? So that way we saw the attribution. So I think it is the spreading the word part. TikTok does really well. So if you're running ads everywhere else, and if you got a interesting video which you're pushing everywhere, then they might see you quite a lot on TikTok, but they might close from somewhere else. Right. So that's what is happening, because I think, especially now, they have introduced e-commerce. I think the trust level on TikTok has gone down, because the TikTok's e-commerce, whenever you order something, first, you don't know the reviews. It's not like Amazon, where you can go and figure out a little bit more about the product. Second, usually there is no idea when you're going to get it. I mean, many of the e-commerce things, and I'm one of the early adopters of everything. So, I mean, I'm one of those guys, if I don't receive something from Amazon every day, I feel something is wrong. So as a result, when TikTok showed up, I'm buying on TikTok too. Partially my justification, at least to my wife, is that, hey, I want to keep to know what's happening in the ads. That's why I'm doing it, right? But I noticed that their stuff comes like a month and a half later sometimes, right? If you enough of that experience, you start feeling, man, I saw that ad, I wanted it yesterday. And now so there is a little bit of a trust issue that TikTok will do anything for money when it comes to promoting. So I think that might, that also gets into even the service ads and all. People start thinking, oh, this is a TikTok ad. This is not a serious lawyer. Because there are people, by the way, our lawyers are not doing it on TikTok yet, but we have lawyers actually. I've seen ads from lawyers which I keep saving, lawyer talking, and that seems like on TikTok when a lawyer ad is there, it seems like a fast talking speak lawyer. So there's a little bit of a trust issue possibly, you know. So, but it is there, and we keep watching. Now, when it comes to service businesses, it can work a little bit better because you can get funny with, pipe leaks and things like that, and people just like it because of that, and they might hire you because of that, because there it's the trust issue is a little bit lesser. It's more like exposure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's where. So, but still, it's not like right now. I'm not recommending any of our clients to say, "Oh, you commit so much for TikTok." We tell them we will experiment for you on TikTok. Let's give it some money and see where it goes. And if it works well, we will continue. Otherwise, stop. So we are not directly pushing on TikTok anyone.
Yeah. So you don't use it as a lead in, right? You don't. Yeah. Me neither. I just started fooling around with it, and the conversions are just not there to justify.
Yeah.
Hopefully that will turn around if they don't get banned. Let's see what happens. All right. So what, for, let's say, a family law attorney comes to you and says, "Hey, Avi, I really, I want to get more exposure on my, my family law brand. I have I don't know, $5,000 budget. What would you recommend them? Would you recommend them Meta? Would you recommend, Google ads? Like, what's your tactic on that?"
I would for a family law, I would recommend look at Meta a little bit more, because again, the urgency in the decision is not there in family law. So because of course there could be a divorce law, which is urgency. So if you're doing that one, probably a Google search will work fine. But if it is these other aspects of family law, like planning, estate planning and all, usually people kind of put it off. So Meta is great for that aspect of, if that's what you're promoting, right? That, hey, you need help with estate planning, and they'll see it, because Meta is like a television, right? You didn't go to Meta to watch ads, but they show up, right? So that was not your search intent, was not there. So that's those kinds where they are putting off the decision. I would go for Meta. There's other part which I would do Meta for. If the attorney is willing to do small snippets of free advice kind of videos, I would promote the heck out of those videos just for getting visibility.
100%.
Because whatever is frequent is liked. You see some attorney talking all the time, and they're giving away this free kind of a general advice, you will be liked. And then when you see the ad from them when you need, you'll pick that. Now, the problem here would be is most clients, they'll say, man, I cannot, attribution is not going to be direct. So they will say, so that's where I would say, you know what, let's take $1,000 of your 5,000 and use to promote just your small videos, micro videos, where you just say out things, you just simple advice. Don't do this versus this. If you have, and remaining 4,000 on regular ads, which can be tracked. And that 1,000 will actually augment your 4,000. Because it's, again, the attribution is going to be definitely hard for those micro videos, right?
Yeah.
But the attribution starts coming when they show up to the meeting and they say, hey, I saw your TikTok video. And they'll all actually searched and found you on Google or somewhere. But they say, in that TikTok video, you said that, I really like that. And then or it need not be TikTok, it could be, it could be micro video on Instagram, for example. I saw that and, really, really thought, I'll give you my own example for our business. And this is a client comes in and says, I own this very large plumbing business, and we've been doing all this in-house. It's say over $8 million business. And I saw your video where you said, you were quoting some guy. Actually, I was quoting Drucker. Drucker says that every business has two purposes: innovation and marketing. There are only two things they should focus on: innovation and marketing. Do a better job at what you do, come up with better ways to do, and market. And what I was propagating is that, hey, a business should focus primarily for innovation and get the experts for marketing. Of course, it's a little bit self-serving, right? Because we're a marketing agency. But he remembered that. And he said, I realized that, man, I need to focus on my business.
Yeah.
That. So people will, so then I realized, he didn't come because of that video, but he had seen that and he came because of some other ad. He filled a form, right?
Yeah.
That tells me, oh man, that immediately told me I need to do more of these videos, right? These guys kind of start liking you or liking the things you're telling you, and they start resonating with them.
Educational.
Yeah.
All right. So we're talking about videos, but and we're talking about TikTok. Let's dive into the YouTube world though. In terms of conversions, how how can you tell us about the conversions on YouTube?
So we see YouTube as very similar to as Meta.
Mm-hmm.
So because again, you didn't go to YouTube to really, in YouTube, people do a little bit search, but generally you went to watch something and the ad popped up, right? So we place it in a very similar category as a Meta when it comes to ads. And again, we recommend the same strategy, a lot of micro videos and micro video ads on YouTube. Same thing on Meta. And again, like as I said, sometimes even with the same niche, and this I cannot explain why, it could be legal niche, and that lawyer will work really well on YouTube and not work well on Meta, while other lawyer works better on Meta. So this could be just the personality match or the ads, the way they're doing. So we always say, hey, let's give it a try. Right? So you cannot know in advance that you will definitely work on this platform versus the other. I have not broken that code yet, that why one works better on the other. But to me, it's like, hey, it's a similar kind of platforms. Let's go and do it. Spend a little money and see how are the views like, how are the response like, and then you do. Now, the one advantage I think Meta does have better is the audience building after video watching is more accurate on Meta side because it's their platform. They knew who all watched the video. So if you want to make it a little funnel, they should have watched the video, then they should see the ad. Meta does work better, right? So that kind of a customer audience on Google side is not, at least our experiences, does not work that great because the ecosystem is still open. Here it's a closed ecosystem, so they know exactly who to show the ad for next.
Yeah, I've seen the same thing. So yeah, I'm glad we're definitely in agreement with that. I also want to talk a little bit about something that I very rarely talk about in the show. And I don't know if you dab into it, but we're talking about ads. So let's dive into LinkedIn ads. Do you toy around with that at all?
Very little. We keep hoping and keep trying that they will work, and then we back off. KUWARE, for a long time, we had a whole LinkedIn prospecting business called Profile Magnet. In fact, if you search LinkedIn prospecting tools, we still rank, I think, like second or third for that. So we have done, that was not ads, that was prospecting. But then it got so flooded, the market, we just kind of got out of it. Right now, it's like, it's difficult to have a good conversation on LinkedIn now with people because there's so many, you keep getting bombarded by people trying to reach out to you. So so LinkedIn, in fact, what we found is many times our budget just does not even get used. We do the ad, you put the budget, but LinkedIn is not able to get that click to charge us, right? So we have not, I would say that we have not had too much success with LinkedIn. Doesn't mean it's never, because our own ads and few other situation ads where we are going to B2B, there are situations where it does work. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not a completely, I would say, oh, don't do anything on LinkedIn. I would not say that. But if you're going to the consumer directly, LinkedIn, it's worth trying still. But I would not recommend to. That'll be the last thing where everything is working. We've got saturation everywhere. Let's put some money on LinkedIn too because there is so much budget. The CPA is increasing too much on the Google now with so much budget. Let's go somewhere else. That's the only situation I'll go. There is one specific example I have actually worked really well on LinkedIn is this was a home. This is a brake service which comes to your home, a mobile brake service. And this was actually random. Like my wife kept on asking me to get her car fixed and brakes fixed, and I kept on saying, "Oh, I'll do it." Finally, she told me, "I made an appointment with this service. You're working from home that day. Can you do that at least? Because I'll not be here." I said, "Sure." And the guy comes up, and I went out and talked to him. How does the business work? I asked him, "How do you get leads?" So he said, "Oh yeah, we just try Facebook. We did ads. We had, it's difficult." I said, "Do you want to try LinkedIn?" and I'll do it for free for you for a month and see if it works. That worked really well for him. And I did, it was just more of a hunch. Later on, my explanation at least is, hey, it's business people who are busy. They want their brakes fixed like me. And when they realize there is this option, they'll go for it. So it worked for them. So they became our client. And this was just, as I said, I never even thought they were big enough business to even consider LinkedIn in any way.
It's funny. I have a similar win story. There's a company who they used to create these. They had this mechanism of resurfacing or refacing cabinets, and their target market was kitchen remodelers, right? And I said, you know what? Let's give me a 3-month trial and let's try this out. And I just went on a hunch. I said, I don't know if Facebook is the right thing. Let me put it on LinkedIn. And lo and behold, they did fairly well. It took about, I'd say, a good 60 days, 45 to 60 days to really, really hone it in. But then once that was going, they were getting pretty good, at least calls, and it was up to them to sell it, obviously, this refacing thing, because that way, if a homeowner wanted to save money on cabinets, having a refaced cabinet is a lot cheaper than buying a brand new cabinet, so that, and it worked well. So that was that, and I had some other things where LinkedIn, but other than that, I'm finding the same thing with you. It's hard for it to spend the money because you have to really, really know exactly who your target audience is. In that case, he already knew, so. So it was great. Awesome. So do you dive into any SEO at all, or just...
Yeah, we do SEO. So we used to, our business KUWARE was always did SEO for big companies. We used to not do the white label SEO. My reasoning was we charge quite a lot for SEO actually on KUWARE side. And I didn't know how to convert it to a white label service. I said, man, white label service means, because it's agencies are the customers now. So they need to be at a price point they can make money. So we even started doing that. But now the SEO, what we have done is we have narrowed it down to say local SEO only. So we'll do only for local businesses, right? Which, I mean, definitely resonates very well with your audience, right? So we don't do the big SEO because local SEO has few things. I mean, it has some, of course, it's SEO. So they're common things for sure. But there are certain aspects which are so specific, and lot of competition doesn't do the basics. So it's kind of easy to get the initial wins. Now, if you're in a market, if there is somebody with deep pockets and they're really going after it, it'll get harder to really reach on the top. But initially, if you're nowhere, to get up there is not hard because most local businesses just kind of ignore it completely, right? And it's expensive to do the whole thing. Like doing 4 blogs a month is too much. Right? And it's for money wise, they cannot afford it. So what we found is that, hey, you don't have to do that much. And even Google, I think this is, again, Google, we are all guessing, but at least the articles talk about is that when a local small business tries to do too many articles, they don't trust that business. They kind of feel like, how could they even be doing it? Like, why is somebody publishing so many articles and backlinks? So they don't want too much coming out from a small business. It should be more. So what we do is we will do the articles and all, which are relevant, but it's not like, oh, we are just a production house which is continuously producing 7-8 articles and backlinks. So that seems to work well. Right. And the cost can be kept reasonable because, again, it's basically for a local business, they want leads. They want justification. And 100%. SEO always says, 3 to 6 months before we'll see anything, right? So it's hard for them. But if you bring them at a lower price point and say, let's do this, it will truly help. And then we do. Another thing we do with local SEO is we do not track, we track internally all the clicks and all those things, but we only track actual conversions from SEO. We present only to the client actual leads which converted. And if that grows, even if it is like 1 or 2 per month kind of a thing, they see usually it'll go by 3-4 more leads from local. Then they are willing to spend the money. So we give them only one metric, that actual converted business because of SEO.
Because of SEO, yeah.
Yeah, and which does mean that we kind of make even all the call tracking, etc., even on their local numbers. Even their mayor GMB, everything is tracked, goes through a recording. So we can really get the attribution right, that how did they come, right?
Yeah, that's very important. Yeah.
Yeah.
But out of curiosity, just so that the audience at least made aware, when you say local SEO, what's the difference between local SEO and traditional SEO?
So the traditional SEO is where you are trying to rank nationally,
Correct.
right? Or internationally, depending on the type of business, but nationally is more common. That does require your link backs need to be from such higher authority, national authority. When you're local, you don't need that because you're really, if you're for, say, market in Houston, Texas, I'm in Austin, say, Austin, Texas. If you want to rank in Austin, Texas, if somebody else has similar articles in Houston, etc., it's okay. Related to that, you can have the similar content and still rank in Austin, right?
Right.
So that's where you don't have to worry about that. Hey, is your article or your content good enough national level? And the link backs which you're getting are from national authority versus getting a local business links are fine, right?
Yep.
So that's one. And of course, the other one, GMB and all the traditional local things. Citation is more important for local business than the bigger business, right? Even though citations are becoming less and less important from Google's point of view, but they still matter, right? So
I've noticed that it has become less and less important over the years.
And they right now, the NAP, we used to say that, hey, NAP needs to be consistent completely. It's not that important. It's consistent. It needs to exist. And Google is smart enough now through their computing engine to recognize this is the same business. Even if some places the address is different. It used to be like if it doesn't match exactly, then you're penalized. That's getting less and less of a problem now. You know?
Yeah, and I'm glad too.
Yeah, that was a pain, right?
That was a pain.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was off, if this one said it was second floor, and then this other one said it was, it was just the address.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a mismatch. Really?
Yes. Yeah.
And
some addresses are such too, right? If they were not using the standard U.S. Postal Service address.
Yeah.
That was a problem. Yeah, right.
It was weird. All right. This has been really, really great. I like to interview folks like yourself because, rather than my audience always listening to me say stuff about PPC and all that, I like from other, to get another perspective, and we're on the same page when it comes to this stuff. Now you said you've been doing it for 16 years. What's your target audience?
So our target audience is right now, we have honed in last few years, is local businesses is what we serve through KUWARE, and agencies who serve local businesses serve them through Invisible PPC. So Invisible PPC is for agencies who do white label. And initially, when we got into this, we thought, oh, this is a conflict, kind of in some ways. Then we realized, no, actually, it augments that for. So when I talk to Invisible PPC customers, our account managers are even able to give them advice about their business because we know how to run the business on the other side. So we tell them, this is what is working for us leads. So we even tell them that how we get plumbing leads. So if it's a plumbing agency, we'll tell them, oh, we do plumbing too. On the KUWARE side, this is what is working for us. You should try this, right? So we'll give them the advice, but we'll do white label for them. And the white label business, the way it works is if you grow large enough, then obviously you start taking it in-house, which is fine with us. But when you're starting out, you have lesser. But that being said, there are some clients who have 50, 60 accounts and they prefer just white label it. Don't want to deal with the thing. But generally, the tendency is once you reach 15, 20 or so, they feel like, okay, I want to hire my own ad person. I want to do it in-house. I want my own SEO person, and which is fine. And we'll transition over. So our audience is basically agencies serving local businesses, then reach out on Invisible. But if it is a local business, and especially home service business, then KUWARE. Those are the businesses we are trying to help. And we do definitely overlap with you. Legal is one of our niches too, which is kind of local, but not local in the sense some of our customers are kind of a national brands, but they still operate the lawsuits in, say, New York area, for example, or Utah. So when they do that, they still are kind of trying to get the local audience, but they're national brands, a little bit, some of them.
Awesome. So, I would love for the audience to connect with you? What's the website that they can check out your services? Well, you have two of them, so let's.
Yeah, it's just KUWARE.com, KUWARE.com for, if you're a end customer, any home service business or any local businesses. If you are agency needing help, then Invisible PPC. We kind of stay invisible, easy to remember. We're behind the scenes white label company. And this is, we acquired like 3 years back, as we were talking in the pre-talk, that from Rob Gardner. And we have improved. We added SEO, we added Meta, which was not there before. So those services are in there. So it kind of can help in the white label, almost everything behind the scene.
Yeah, you've changed it up a little bit. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, again, this has been great. And I know you're a very busy man. Before I let you go, though, is there anything that I did not ask you that you think will benefit the audience?
Yeah, you didn't ask me, what about the red glasses?
What's up with these red glasses?
Basically, yes. All I'll say to the audience is one of the things they should really, really focus on, get missed, is track your leads, where they're coming from. That's one thing. Even if you don't hire a marketing agency, just try to track where they're coming from. What is the source? What is converting? What is not? That's the common mistake a lot of small businesses are doing. They just kind of don't do enough there, because that tells you where should you spend your energy in, whether you will do it yourself or hire somebody. So that's something gets missed. And the red glasses is just a kind of a trademark thing. I figured people will remember me better. Brown skin and red glasses, it's Avi. Okay, it's
Avi. Yeah. So that advice you gave, I love it, because it's basically what you're saying. What he's saying, guys, is do not throw spaghetti in the wall and see if it sticks. So with that, I am going to put an end to this episode. Thanks, Avi, for coming. Thanks for your knowledge. Thanks for imparting the knowledge onto my audience. I'm sure they got a lot out of it. So I'm going to put an end to this episode. This has been Frank Deming, the local business guy, and you've just been blessed by the great Avi Kumar. Until next week, everyone, take care. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Law Firms, the podcast that provides you with all the latest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you would like to know more about the topic we discussed on the show today, reach out to Frank and his team at 888-416-7752 and schedule a discovery call with one of the marketing consultants. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, send an email to podcast@lbmsllc.com and we will put you on the schedule. With that being said, until next week, make it a successful digital marketing day. Peace out.